Today we're talking about control valves, which NFPA defines simply as a valve controlling flow to water-based fire protection systems and devices. Control valve losses remain unfortunately all too frequent, raising insurance costs for all parties and leaving the contractor with lost time and expense in dealing with the aftermath and a very upset customer. From pulling a live sprinkler head or cutting into a live system, the good thing is these losses can be highly prevented with the right processes in the field. Identifying the correct control valve to shut for service and retrofit work can be very difficult in real-world applications. Often, the service provider will walk into a building with no educated contact on site, no informational signage, or sometimes worse, incorrect signage, and systems that have been changed and retrofit so many times over the years the piping is no longer logical and just cannot be traced without cutting into walls and ceilings. Control valve losses happen when you, the contractor, are on site performing work on a system, leaving a more difficult liability scenario to unravel and defend. While there can be mitigating circumstances, it never looks good when your actions cause the loss, whether those actions were negligent or not. The first step to preventing these losses is to capture a simple and quick pre-work checklist. If the fitter's standing in front of the control valve, there's some basic and incredibly important information that the system should be telling you about itself. NFPA 25 tells you that every control valve shall be identified and have a sign indicating the system or portion of the system it controls. Further, systems that have more than one control valve that must be closed to work on a system shall have a sign on each affected valve referring to the existence and location of the other valve. Seeing a sign on a valve labeled control valve is somewhat common. However, seeing a control valve tell you with its signage the system or portion of the system it controls is much less frequent. And seeing two valves cross-reference each other's existence when there are two supplies to a portion of the system can be very rare. If the system is deficient in signage before you start the work, you need to understand and capture the increased liability that you are faced with in proceeding with the job. If you think about it, why not sell the customer on performing NFPA 25 inspections for them? Because the contractor performing the inspections is missing some basic questions on their form that both leads to more service work for the contractor and also helps future contractors from being set up for control valve failure. If you are also the inspecting contractor, you may want to find out why you are not capitalizing on these deficiencies. You can reference 5.2.7 in recent editions of NFPA 25 for the information sign that's required in Chapter 4. The 2023 edition of NFPA 25 now calls for both the location of the area served by the system and the location of control valves as required in Chapter 13. First, we capture the pre-work checklist. Now, if the fitter in the field is 100% sure, without question, that the correct valves have been closed, simply proceed with the work. Now, if the fitter is unsure if the correct valves have been closed, make a standard recommendation to the building owner to shut down the main water supply to the whole fire protection system, simply as an abundance of caution to protect the customer's property. Make this recommendation in writing and leave it up to the customer to say yes or no. In a perfect world, your customer will say, sure, do whatever you have to do. But as we know, they may not always be available or agreeable. If your customer's system is deficient in signage and you're not 100% sure that all the correct valves are closed, and your customer will not allow you to take additional precautions to protect their property, that should be a red flag for your liability. When all else fails, there's a very unique product made by Reliable that's been around for a number of years and is underutilized in the field. It's called the Shore-Off Tester, and it's a pressure measuring device used to determine if the appropriate system has been closed and drained prior to performing work. The device is a really well thought out risk management tool. It can be used for service and retrofit applications that can help prevent ever working on a live system. So let's review. Step 1, capture a pre-work checklist. Record on your work order if applicable signage is present or if it's missing. If you're 100% confident that the correct valves are shut, simply proceed with the work. If you're unsure, make a standard recommendation to owner in order to help protect the customer's property to shut down the water supply to the whole fire protection system or whatever is practical within that system. If the customer is available, record the status of the recommendation. The customer either agrees or declines. Contact your service supervisor to discuss. Consider offering a release of liability if the customer declines and suggest they contact their property insurer for advice. And if water cannot be shut down or uncertainty still remains, Try the shore-off device to determine if the system is still under pressure in the area you're working before water damage takes place. In summary, you nor your customer want to deal with a water loss. The more engaged a customer is, the easier it is to have these conversations and work cooperatively with them. But all too often, contractors walk into a liability scenario in which they're set up for failure, especially with control valves. The process suggested here is a recommendation to be proactive in ensuring the job will go smoothly. Make sure your team in the field is confident in the decisions they are making and also feel comfortable asking for help when they are unsure.